Hi guys, it's your boy Brainsy. Back at it again with another workout grind. This time, we've leveled up to an increase of weight. Hopefully this one will stick. I don't plan on going lower anymore, so I think that's gonna be good, yeah. Unfortunately, I missed working out yesterday because I was kind of preoccupied with a lot of things, but now I can focus. I think, hopefully, maybe. So yeah, I'm just gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna make my pre and then I'm gonna start working out. Wish me luck. So now we're doing biceps instead of chest, and tomorrow we're gonna jogging. I don't know how I'm going to um oh my god, I forgot. I don't know how to video that. Maybe I'll take pictures, I don't know. But yeah. I'll just make some pre. I'll go outside. Then I'll come back here. Just a second. Then I can start with my workout. I just open my timer and then new Veritasium. Alright.
Cobalt oxide, you would get a vivid blue. Adding cuprite makes red. But all of the historical glasses we've been talking about have been opaque, which is not really what we think of as glass today. After glassmaking was invented, thousands of years passed before we invented transparent glass. That's because making it is actually pretty difficult. The first step came around 100 AD, when glassmakers in Alexandria added manganese dioxide into the mixture, which led to a semi-opaque glass. It definitely wasn't transparent, but it did let some light through. This is when glass began being used for windows. And glass windows were a huge deal. I mean, they provide a physical barrier that keeps the warm air in and the wind and critters out, while still allowing light to shine into your home. But the first truly transparent glass was made many centuries later, around the Italian city of Venice. The art of glassmaking was thriving and bringing a lot of money into the city. There was just one problem. To make and manipulate glass, you need very hot furnaces. And at the time, Venice was a city built almost entirely out of wood. So yeah, glassmakers were bringing a lot of money into the city, but they also kept accidentally burning it down. So in 1291, the government of Venice had had enough, so they moved all the glassmakers to the island of Murano. The island became known as the Isle of Glass, celebrated for making the most beautiful and intricate glassware anywhere on Earth. This is also where the glassmaker Angelo Barovier invented clear glass. He took some seaweed rich in potassium oxide and manganese and burned it to create ash. Then he added this ash into his glass, and when it cooled, he found that the glass was transparent. Most materials are opaque because when photons hit them, the photons are absorbed. The photon excites an electron, pushing it up to a higher energy level. But this only happens when the photon's energy matches the energy of an allowed electron transition. And different materials have different energy levels. In transparent glass, the energy required to move an electron from a lower state to a higher state is higher than the amount of energy that a photon of visible light has. So the photon just passes right through. Now, while glass is transparent to visible light, it does interact with other parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. It absorbs much of the ultraviolet spectrum because UV photons have more energy, hence they can push the electron to the higher energy level and be absorbed. That makes it opaque to UV. This is also how colored glass is made. You add impurities into the glass, which affects the electron energy levels, which then changes the color of the glass. If you look at a pane of glass side on, you might notice that it looks slightly green, which is because the most common glass used for windows, soda lime, has impurities of iron oxides, which give the glass a green tinge. The glass absorbs more of the other colors than it does green, so that's why we see it. I think the only way we'd truly appreciate how important transparent glass is would be if all of a sudden it disappeared. So your windows, glasses, screens, all gone. But there is another element in our daily lives that we take for granted, which is connectivity. I mean, we are always connected to the internet. And losing that connection, even for a few minutes, can be pretty uncomfortable, especially when you're traveling. Staying connected abroad requires either paying exorbitant roaming fees or a continuous hunt for public Wi-Fi. But luckily, you can avoid all of this with today's sponsor, Saley. Saley makes it incredibly easy to set up a cell plan with data in more than 150 countries. And it's way cheaper than roaming. I went to Germany for our recent Thermite video, and here's how easy it was to set up an eSIM with Saley. After downloading the app to my phone, all I had to do was click on the country, select a plan, and activate the eSIM. Then when I landed, I instantly connected to a local network with no hidden charges. That was it. You don't have to use any shady public Wi-Fi or worry about scammers selling fake SIM cards in front of the airport. Download Saley once and you'll always be connected. And if you find out that your phone isn't eSIM compatible, you'll get a full refund. To try Saley, you can scan this QR code or click the link in the description. Make sure to use code Veritasium at checkout to get a special 15% off your first purchase. So I want to thank Saley for sponsoring this part of the video, and now back to transparent glass. Truly transparent glass was a massive deal for 3 reasons. Sometime in the early 1300s in northern Italy, this clear glass was ground, shaped, and polished into small discs that were thicker in the center than at the edges. Due to their resemblance to lentil beans, they became known as lenses. Glasses to correct farsightedness didn't seem all that important at the time because literacy rates were so low, they were almost exclusively used by monks. But after the invention of the printing press circa 1440, glasses became a vital tool. The printing press led to a precipitous drop in the cost of producing books, which led to a rapid increase in literacy rates. Now a large number of people became aware that they were farsighted. Thankfully, there was a technology available to solve the problem. 150 years later, a father and son, Hans and Zacharias Janssen, put two lenses in line with each other rather than side by side. And this was likely the world's first microscope. It made objects appear about 20 times their original size. In the 1660s, Antony van Leeuwenhoek made significant improvements on the microscope by grinding the lenses himself. He could magnify things 200 times, allowing him to see human cells. A few years later, Robert Hooke published Micrographia, a book full of beautiful sketches of the microscopic world. And all of this was possible because of transparent glass. And in 1608, Hans Lippershey, an eyeglass maker, applied for a patent for a spyglass. His idea was for it to be used in warfare, to spy on your enemy on the battlefield. But the next year, Galileo Galilei heard about his idea and realized that he could point this device toward the sky to study the stars and planets. Galileo's telescope magnified objects in the night sky by about 30 times. In 1610, he was able to see the craters of the moon in detail, the phases of Venus, and 4 of Jupiter's largest moons. These observations were the final nail in the coffin for the geocentric model of the universe. He saw moons that were clearly revolving around Jupiter and not the Earth. And how else could you explain the phases of Venus other than to say that the planet must go around the sun? None of this would have been discovered without the invention of transparent glass. 4 centuries later, we can now make glass that is orders of magnitude more transparent than water. Glass that is so transparent that if you were able to make a column as deep as the Mariana Trench, you would be able to see all the way to the bottom. This is the glass inside optical fibers.
Oh, this is getting real. I'm stoked.
But the main thing we all need is durable glass. So how do you take a substance that is typically delicate and brittle and improve its scratch resistance and drop resistance? First, you start with an aluminosilicate base, and then, after the glass is made, you submerge it in a potassium salt solution at 420 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it really does look like water. Doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know if I want to drink it.
Potassium and sodium are chemically very similar. I mean, they both have 1 electron in their outer shell. So during this process, some of the sodium atoms are replaced by potassium atoms in the glass. Now, potassium atoms are physically larger than sodium atoms, but the glass is already set. It's rigid, so it doesn't increase in size. So now there's the larger potassium atoms all squeezed together, taking up the same amount of space as before. This increases the compressive strength in the surface of the glass, which makes it more durable.
Do you see any visual difference besides between them?
Honestly, no. I have 2 pieces of glass. One of them has gone through the ion exchange process. The other one hasn't. I don't know which one is which. And we're going to figure that out really soon. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay. That's really cool. Can I get it harder?
Yeah.
That was a thunk. My mind is genuinely blown. That's really cool. That's all just like ion exchange, right? That's all just... There's no other difference, right? You just put it in a bunch of salt.
Yep, for a few hours and voila. Yep.
Huh.
I'm trying to think of a good analogy for this. You know, I can imagine if there were just a whole bunch of people sort of standing around casually and you try to run through them, you'd probably be able to bounce through a few of them, break through the crowd. But what if instead all of those people were squeezed together, shoulder to shoulder, You know, like people trying to get into a subway or something. If you try to run through them, all of those forces are just going to add up and prevent you from getting in or from making a dent, making a crack, anything like that. But the scientists at Corning are constantly trying to refine the process to make the glass even more durable. There is a whole team at the facility that is dedicated to testing and measuring different glass prototypes.
All right, we're displacing it by 1.5 millimeters.
Yep.
2 millimeters. Whoop.
And they really put the glass through its paces, conducting bending tests, scratching tests, and dropping heavy steel balls onto the glass.
3, 2, 1.
They also have replica phones with different glasses for the screen, and they drop them from ever-increasing heights.
But we can go up a little bit, and maybe
Right.
we can imagine that I'm taking a selfie.
All of this is to make the next version of Gorilla Glass even more durable than it already is.
Like, are we doing this?
If you want to.
Hell yeah. 1.7 meters.
Yeah, that's roughly selfie height. 3, 2, 1.
Amazing.
Go down and pick that up.
Still good.
Survived.
Dude, that's pretty wild.
You know, I think it's rather ironic that we are making this video right now while my phone looks like this. I don't know, can you see those? Yeah. So, it's still glass. It still cracks. It is not perfect yet. But it is constantly improving because scientists are working on ways to make this material more and more durable. And we have come such a long way. I am just appreciative that I can have this material. And it is amazing, even if it does still crack sometimes with people who just refuse to get a case for their phone.
All right, so let's listen to the OG content that made me who I am today. This one.
We live in a very nihilistic culture, and I find it in our entertainment. The idea of having a set of principles that guide you in life, man, that seems so old-fashioned, that seems so fussy, no, man, I'm just gonna be who I am. The values that are implanted in entertainment are completely nihilistic. They give you no focus, they give you no direction, they don't tell you what actually matters in life. They give you all of these these illusions about what life is about. Some of it stems from the kind of fractured society that we live in. Most cultures up until the 21st century had a kind of cohesiveness to it. There were certain myths that people ascribed to that set the boundaries. This is what unites us all. These are the things that are good. These are the things that we hate. These are the values that are good. These are the values that are bad. Now, sometimes those cultures, those conventions, those myths were not good. But then you had something to rebel against. What are you going to rebel against now? You don't even know what to rebel against now because there's nothing. It's just pure chaos. Instead of fetishizing AI, fetishize the human brain. Fetishize human powers. Fetishize our sociabilities, our theory of mind.
Even I
Theory
feel
of
like
mind
it's
is what
cringe.
makes.
Let's look at cool videos. Let's see. This one. 14 million, that's crazy.
It's like you don't need to have all these things, but you better have most of them. Family, friends, career, educational goals, plans for, time outside of work, attention to your mental and physical health, etc. That's what life is about. And if you don't have any of those things, well, then all you've got left is misery and suffering. So that's a bad deal for you. So once you set up that goal structure, let's say, and that's really in many ways that's what you should be doing at university. That's exactly what you should be doing, is trying to figure out who it is that you're trying to be. right? And you aim at that. And then you use everything you learn as a means of building that person that you want to be. And I really mean want to be. I don't mean should be, even those things are going to overlap. And it's important to distinguish between those, because that's partly, and this is back down to the micro routine analysis. So if I was saying, well, you're going to try to make yourself more industrious. Okay, number one, specify your damn goals, because how are you going to hit something if you don't know what it is? That isn't going to happen. And often people won't specify their goals too, because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So if you keep yourself all vague and foggy, which is real easy, because that's just a matter of not doing as well, then you don't know when you fail. And people might say, well, I really don't want to know when I fail because that's painful. So I'll keep myself blind about when I fail. That's fine, except you'll fail all the time then. You just won't know it until you've failed so badly that you're done. And that can easily happen by the time you're 40. So I would recommend that you don't let that happen. So that's willful blindness, right? You could have known, but you chose not to. Okay, so once you get your goal structure set up, you think, okay, if I could have this life, it looks like that might be worth living, despite the fact that it's going to be, you know, anxiety provoking and threatening, and there's going to be some suffering and loss involved and all of that. Obviously, the goal is to have a vision for your life such that, all things considered, that justifies your effort. Okay, so then what do you do? Well, then you turn down to the micro routines. It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm aiming for. How does that instantiate itself day to day, week to week, month to month? And that's where something like a schedule can be unbelievably useful. Google Calendar. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. It's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, you know, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you just dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy. It's a bad strategy. So maybe 20% of your day has to be responsibility and obligation, or maybe it's more than that, depending on how far behind you are. But even that, you can ask yourself, okay, well, I've got these responsibilities. I have to schedule the damn things in. What's the right ratio of responsibility to reward? And you can ask yourself that, just like you'd negotiate with someone who is working for you. It's like, okay, you got to work tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to work tomorrow. And you might say, okay, well, what are you going to do for me that makes it likely that I'll work for you? Well, you could ask yourself that, you know. So maybe you do an hour of responsibility and then you play a video game for 15 minutes. I don't know, whatever turns your crank, man. But, you know, you have to negotiate with yourself and not tyrannize yourself. Like you're negotiating with someone that you care for, that you would like to be productive and have a good life. And that's how you make the schedule. It's like, and then you look at the day and you think, well, if I had that day, that'd be good. Great. You know, and you're useless and horrible, so you'll probably only hit it with about 70% accuracy, but that beats the hell out of 0, right? And if you hit it even with 50% accuracy, another rule is, well, aim for 51% the next week, or 50.5% for God's sake, or because you're going to hit that position where things start to loop back positively and spiral you upward. And so that's one way that you can work on your conscientiousness, is plan a life you'd like to have. And you do that partly by referring to social norms. That's more or less rescuing your father from the belly of the whale. But the other way you do that is by having a little conversation with yourself about, as if you don't really know who you are, because you know what you're like. You won't do what you're told. You won't do what you tell yourself to do. You must have noticed that. It's like you're a bad employee and a worse boss, and both of those work, you know, for you. You don't know what you want to do, and then when you tell yourself what to do, you don't do it anyways. You should fire yourself and find someone else to be. But you know, my point is that you have to understand that you're not your own servant, so to speak. You're someone that you have to negotiate with, and you're someone that you want to present the opportunity of having a good life to. And that's hard for people because they don't like themselves very much. So, you know, they're always like cracking the whip and then procrastinating, and cracking the whip and then procrastinating. And it's like, God, it's so boring and such a pathetic way of spending your time. And you know what that's like because you probably waste like 6 hours a day. And I think we did an economic calculation about that a while back, right? Your time's probably worth $50 an hour, something like that. I mean, you're not getting paid that now, but you're young, and so this is investment time, and what you do now is going to multiply its effects in the future. So let's say it's $50 an hour, which is perfectly reasonable. So if you waste 6 hours a day, and you are, then you're wasting about $2,000 a week, or about $100,000 a year. So like, go ahead, but that's what it's costing you every hour. And you need to know what your damn time is worth. So let's say it's not $50, it's 30, whatever. Maybe it's 100, it's somewhere in that range. One of the things you should be asking yourself is, when you spend an hour, was that, well, would have I paid someone $50 to have had that hour? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, maybe you should do something else with your time. And it depends on whether or not you think that your time's worthwhile. But the funny thing about not assuming that is, if you assume your time isn't worthwhile, what happens is you don't just sit around sort of randomly in a state of responsibility-less bliss. What you do is you suffer existentially. And so that seems like a stupid solution. You know, if you take people, and I've told you this, and you expose them voluntarily to things that they are avoiding and are afraid of, you know, that they know they need to overcome in order to meet their goals, their self-defined goals. If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't know what the upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, like, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, by your own definitions, right, within the value structure that you've created, to the degree that you've done that, what would you be like? Well, you know, there are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time, and there are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were, if they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we don't know the limits to that. We do not know the limits to that. And so you could say, well, in part, perhaps the reason that you're suffering unbearably can be left at your feet, because you're not everything you could be, and you know it. And of course, that's a terrible thing to admit, and it's a terrible thing to consider, but there's real promise in it, right? Because it means that perhaps there's another way that you could look at the world, and another way that you could act in the world. So what it would reflect back to you would be much better than what it reflects back to you now. And then the second part of that is, well, imagine that many people did that, because we've done a lot as human beings. We've done a lot of remarkable things, and I've told you already, I think before, that today, for example, about 250,000 people will be lifted out of abject poverty, and about 300,000 people attached to the electrical power grid. We're lifting people out of poverty collectively at a faster rate that's ever occurred in the history of humankind by a huge margin. And that's been going on unbelievably quickly since the year 2000. The UN had planned to have poverty between 2000 and 2015, and it was accomplished by 2013. So there's inequality developing in many places, and you hear lots of political agitation about that. But overall, the tide is lifting everyone up, and that's a great thing. And we have no idea how fast we could multiply that if people got their act together and really aimed at it. Because, you know, my experience is with people that we're probably running at about 51% of our capacity. I mean, you can think about this yourselves. I often ask undergraduates how many hours a day you waste, or how many hours a week you waste. And the classic answer is something like 4 to 6 hours a day. You know, inefficient studying, watching things on YouTube that not only do you not want to watch, that you don't even care about, that make you feel horrible about watching after you're done. That's probably 4 hours right there. You know, you think, well, that's 25 hours a week, it's 100 hours a month, that's 2.5 full work weeks, it's half a year of work weeks per year. And if your time is worth $20 an hour, which is a radical underestimate, it's probably more like 50 if you think about it in terms of deferred wages. If you're wasting 20 hours a week, you're wasting $50,000 a year. And you are doing that right now. And it's because you're young, wasting $50,000 a year is a way bigger catastrophe than it would be for me to waste it, because I'm not going to last nearly as long. And so if your life isn't everything it could be, you could ask yourself, well, what would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be, who knows how much more efficient? 10 times more efficient, 20 times more efficient. That's the Pareto distribution. You have no idea how efficient people get. It's off the charts. Well, and if we all got our act together collectively and stopped making things worse, because that's another thing people do all the time, not only do they not do what they should to make things better, they actively attempt to make things worse because they're spiteful or resentful or arrogant or deceitful or homicidal or genocidal, or all of those things all bundled together in an absolutely pathological package. If people stopped really, really trying just to make things worse, we have no idea how much better they would get just because of that. So there's this weird dynamic that's part of the existential system of ideas between human vulnerability, social judgment, both of which are major causes of suffering, and the failure of individuals to adopt the responsibility that they know they should adopt. And that's the thing that's interesting too, is that, and like another thing I've often asked my undergraduate classes is, you know, there's this idea that people have a conscience. And you know what the conscience is. It's this feeling or voice you have in your head just before you do something that you know is stupid, telling you that probably you shouldn't do that stupid thing. You don't have to listen to it, strangely enough, but you go ahead and do it anyways, and then of course exactly what the conscience told you was going to happen inevitably happens, so that you feel even stupider about it than you would if it happened by accident, because you know, I knew this was going to happen, I got a warning it was going to happen, and I went and did it anyways. And the funny thing too is that conscience operates within people, and we really don't understand what the hell that is. So you might say, well, what would happen if you abided by your conscience for 5 years or for 10 years? What sort of position might you be in? What sort of family might you have? What sort of relationship might you be able to forge? And you can be bloody sure that a relationship that's forged on the basis of who you actually are is going to be a lot stronger and more welcome than one that's forged on the basis of who you aren't. Now, of course, that means that the person you're with has to deal with the full force of you in all your ability and your catastrophe, and that's a very, very difficult thing to negotiate. But if you do negotiate it, well, at least you have something, you have somewhere solid to stand, and you have somewhere to live, you have a real life, and it's a great basis upon which to bring children into the world, for example, because you can have an actual relationship with them instead of torturing them half to death, which is what happens in a tremendously large minority of cases. Well, it's more than that too, because, and this is what I'll close with, and this is why I wanted to introduce Solzhenitsyn's writings to you. You see, because it isn't merely that your fate depends on whether or not you get your act together and to what degree you decide that you're going to live out your own genuine being. It isn't only your fate, it's the fate of everyone that you're networked with. And so, you know, you think, well, there's 9 billion, 7 billion people in the world. We're going to peak at about 9 billion, by the way, and then it'll decline rapidly. But 7 billion people in the world, and who are you? You're just one little dust mote among that 7 billion. And so it really doesn't matter what you do or don't do, but that's simply not the case. It's the wrong model, because you're at the center of a network. You're a node in a network. Of course, that's even more true now that we have social media. You'll know 1,000 people, at least, over the course of your life. And they'll know 1,000 people each, and that puts you one person away from 1 million, and 2 persons away from 1 billion. And so that's how you're connected. And the things you do, they're like dropping a stone in a pond. The ripples move outward, and they affect things in ways that you can't fully comprehend. And it means that the things that you do and that you don't do are far more important than you think. And so if you act that way, of course, the terror of realizing that is that it actually starts to matter what you do. And you might say, well, that's better than living a meaningless existence. It's better for it to matter. But I mean, if you really asked yourself, would you be so sure if you had the choice? I can live with no responsibility whatsoever. The price I pay is that nothing matters. Or I can reverse it and everything matters. But I have to take the responsibility that's associated with that. It's not so obvious to me that people would take the meaningful path. You know, when you say, well, nihilists suffer dreadfully because there's no meaning in their life, and they still suffer. Yeah, but the advantage is they have no responsibility. So that's the payoff, and I actually think that's the motivation. Say, well, I can't help being nihilistic. All my belief systems have collapsed. It's like, yeah, maybe. Maybe you've just allowed them to collapse because it's a hell of a lot easier than acting them out. And the price you pay is some meaningless suffering, but you can always whine about that and people will feel sorry for you, and you have the option of taking the pathway of the martyr, so that's a pretty good deal, all things considered, especially when the alternative is to bear your burden properly and to live forthrightly in the world. Well, what Solzhenitsyn figured out, and so many people in the 20th century, it's not just him, even though he's the best example, is that if you live a pathological life, you pathologize your society. And if enough people do that, then it's hell. Really. Really. And you can read the Gulag Archipelago if you have the fortitude to do that, and you'll see exactly what hell is like. And then you can decide if that's a place you'd like to visit, or even more importantly, if it's a place you'd like to visit and take all your family and friends. Because that's what happened in the 20th century. How to think about motivation? We'll think about it from the hypothalamic perspective. So we could say one thing that motivation does is set goals. We could say that emotions track progress towards goals. And I'm going to use that schema even though it's not exactly right. So you say, well, motivation determines where you're going to aim. So if you're hungry, you're going to aim at something to eat. And then that will organize your perceptions so that you zero out everything that isn't relevant to that task, which is almost everything. You concentrate on those few things that are going to facilitate your movement forward. When you encounter those things, that produces positive emotion as you move through the world towards your goal, and you see that things are laying themselves out that facilitate your movement forward. Those things cause positive emotion. And if you encounter anything that gets in the way, then that produces negative emotion, and it can be like threat, because you're not supposed to encounter something that gets in the way. It can be anger, so that you move it away. It can be frustration, disappointment, grief. Those would, if you had a response that serious to an obstacle, it would probably punish the little motivated frame right out of existence. You know, so you walk downstairs and, I don't know, the contracting company has set a wrecking ball through your kitchen. It's like, that's going to be disappointing. You're not going to keep eating the peanut butter sandwich in the rubble. That little frame is going to get punished out of existence, and some new goal is going to pop up in its stead. And you know, one of the things we're going to try to sort out is how do you decide when you've encountered an obstacle that's so big that you should just quit and go do something else, because that's not obvious. You know, and you can get into counterproductive persistence pretty easily. So we don't know how people solve that problem. It's a really complicated one. So anyways, we're going to work on that scenario. Your hypothalamus pops up.
I wish there was a time when it wasn't, but we've reached that point. We've reached that point already. This one.
Most people live in this nice, comfortable place that makes them feel really good. And they always ask, how do I become hard? You sure don't become hard by living that way. You have to take yourself out of your comfort zone and bury yourself in something that makes you feel so horrible that you have to see how your mind's thinking in that horrible situation and overcome it while you're in shit.
If you want to live in paradise, you gotta fight like fucking hell to get to paradise. There is no easy road.
When I was losing the weight, I had to miserably wake up every morning in the cold. This is your new life. It sucks. It just fucking sucks. And it's gonna continue to suck. Because to get to where you want to go, there's gonna be more times you do something that you don't want to do than you are gonna want to do it. And that's your new norm. My new norm is you get up every morning at 4 o'clock and you suffer. That became my new life. Most people want to get out of it. I said, no, motherfucker, this is your new life. This is who you are. You have to say, you, I run this motherfucker.
When you feel that, step it up. Push harder. Make yourself get out of the comfort zone and get into the combat zone where you have to fight, where you have to dig deep, where strength and power and fortitude are found.
I don't want to live this lifestyle, but to get to the other side of this, I have to. That's how you start to callous your mind. So that became my life. It's going to suck. It's not going to be fun. Do something that sucks every single day of your life. That's how you grow. Embrace the suck. When life is over for you, I need you to die on E. I don't want you to have one idea left in you. I don't want one dream left in you. When you die, I want you to go for broke. Every book you were supposed to write, every degree you were supposed to get, everything you were supposed to accomplish. When you die, don't go to the grave with nothing. I want you to give everything you got, full potential. I want you to get everything out your system, because most people that are alive are living on neutral. So I want you to get out of neutral and put it in drive.
You get the f out of bed when it's cold, when it's early, and go for a f***ing run. Commit to one day and see how you feel. As you're jogging it back in around 5 or something, and your neighbor's just getting up, grabbing the coffee, looking outside, wondering, what the day's gonna hold for them. Well, your day's already provided something for you. And then you go back your day at work, and your coworker's like, what happened to old Greg, man? This is a new, who's this? That's right, the new motherfucker's here to stay. And get the f***ing on my plan, or get the f*** out of my way. When everybody else says, no, this is not comfortable, we shouldn't do this, you say, yes, motherfucker, I'm gonna introduce myself to it.
I will my way through every situation, every trial, every tribulation. I will my way through it. I don't care if you fail the boards, go again. I don't care if you fail the law exam, go again, will your way through it. Some things you can skill yourself through, some stuff you gotta will your way through. You're still living off talent. Average people live off talents. Phenomenal people live off efforts. If you will be a champion, if you will be a beast, you're gonna have to go through something. Ain't nobody gonna hand you nothing. Ain't nobody gonna hand you no championship. Ain't nobody gonna hand you no title. You have to develop a doggedness in order to make it. You gotta have some toughness in you. And the only way to develop toughness is you gotta practice being tough. And you cannot practice being tough by quitting every time you get tired, by stopping every time you don't feel like it, by giving up every time you get challenged. That's what's wrong with people now. People don't make it because they always give up when it get hard. It's so challenging now. They was talking about me. I feel weak. I'm tired. Life don't give a damn about you being tired. In life, there's a lot of things we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be our f***ing best. We're supposed to get up early. We're supposed to work out. We're supposed to be uncomfortable. We're supposed to do all these f***ing things that people are now looking for a f***ing comment back. You got to get about the business now. You want to be successful, you got to get at it. You got to stop all this soft shoe and then all that mess, man. You got to get at it. You got to tear their mouth out. I don't see failure. I see grit, determination, drive, sacrifice. Failure means you're trying. A whole bunch of people out here never fail, because they never tried. I don't look at it as failure. I look at it as my first, second, third attempt. The skill of mental toughness is a skill that you must have. And when you have a day that isn't going your way, that's a gift. And it's a gift because you get to test yourself. And when you pass the test and you got through the day and you push yourself through, even if you had to drag yourself through every motherfucking step of that day, when you get through that day and you look in the mirror and you say, motherfucker, I passed that test. Nobody can fuck with me. That's a powerful thing. And you make a deposit into your psyche that reminds you of how badass you really are. Nobody's gifted with it. It's developed. They are perishable skills, meaning if you don't invest in them, they will go away. If you invest in them, they will get stronger. Just like all the muscles in your body, when you test them, they get stronger. Your life is no different. Your brain is no different. So the next time you have one of these days where just isn't going your way, remind yourself that it's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to test yourself. It's an opportunity to know what the f*** you're actually made of. This sort of thinking is what champions do. One thing in life that's for sure. The valiant motherfucker always wins. Always, always. Embrace the suck, adapt to the suck.
Download this video and audio by becoming a member at benlionelscott.com. Plus, get early access to all new content and hundreds of exclusive videos.
Most people live in this nice, comfortable place.
While other people are chilling, while other people are taking days off, while other people are relaxing, while other people are taking a break, telling themselves, all right, I've done enough now, I just rest. I am still grinding. I am still working as hard as possible to become the very best version of me.
And that doesn't happen when it's showtime and all eyes are on you. No. Greatness is created in the dark, when no one's around. In those early mornings, in those late nights, where you're grinding away in silence.
A real man in the dark, when nobody's watching, he putting in work. A real man, when coach ain't even watching, he's studying film on his own, because he loves the process. The reason why you're not having success and you're not able to raise the bar and keep raising it, you're not taking ownership of it, you're not devoted to it, you've not given a certain amount of time or your energy to a specific thing. And it don't work if you have doing it. And a part of success is just totally devoting yourself to it. You gotta own it. You gotta adore it. I want you to love school this time. Don't worry about your grades. I want you to love to read. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just can you love reading? And I want you to love the process.
When a lion is born, it's not a lion. When a lion is born, it's a cub. You know what makes it look the way it look? How does a lion look like that, but a giraffe don't look like that? He's chasing the food. So it is the process of hunting. It's not the actual meat that makes him look like that. It is the actual hunt. It's the actual chasing. So whether he catch it or not, every time he goes on the hunts, he's developing.
Those real lions like to hunt. They love the process just as much as they love the prize. And some of y'all just want to score. You don't like the process. You're not in love with the process.
Some of y'all so caught up on the game that you don't get it. It is in practicing. It is in lifting weights. It is in resting. It is in eating right. It is in making good decisions that you look a certain way. It is how you practice. It is what you do that makes you look like you look. It is the process of the grind that shapes you and forms you. It's not the game. And that's why most of y'all get beat in the game or make mistakes in the game, because you think grinding is what happens when the sun comes out. You think grinding is what happens when the lights come on. You think grinding is what happens when people get in the stage. That's not grind. The real grind is in the dark when nobody sees you, when nobody knows what you're doing, when you studying without coach, when you putting in those extra reps, when you watching those videos and you getting inspired, when you change your music.
It has everything to do with what time you wake up. It has everything to do with how you eat. It has everything to do with how you work out, how you prepare. It has every single thing to do with how you think. I want you to fall in love with the process, because once you can fall in love with the process, there's nothing you can't do, because everything you have to do, there's a process to it.
It's the process that makes you sweet. When I'm gonna get paid for speaking? When you put in the time. When I'm finally gonna pass this test? When you put in the time. When my marriage gonna get better? When you put in the time. Don't rush the process. Trust the process. Don't rush the process. Trust the process. You say you want to be great. You say you want to get to the next level. You say you want to be dominant, and all you do is talk, talk, talk. You talk too much. Shut up. Don't tell me. Write it down. Look at it. Get yourself in the lab. Go to work and show me. Show me what you got. Show me every single opportunity you get, every chance you get. I need you to grind. And I need you to grind on the little stuff. Do all your homework. Take every test. Wash the dishes and wash the dishes 100%. Mop the floor and mop it 100%. Go to work and do your work. Don't just go to work when you feel like it. Go to work every single day. Work on it every day. Even when you down and out, even when you're not feeling it, still do it. Just be consistent.
The greatest version of you is the disciplined version of you. It's the version that has parameters. No, I don't do that. I don't drink that. I don't go there with these people. I'm focused. I have a prize that's in front of me. I know what I'm supposed to do, and that ain't it. I have to stay right here.
Normal people are gonna call you weird. Let them be the ones who go out and party, get drunk, get high. You keep grinding. You work for a better future. Outwork and outperform every last one of them. While you're over there watching me and talking about me, I'm working. I'm working hard. I'm taking things to the next level. You keep gossiping, I'll keep working. You keep talking smack, I'll keep working. You keep chattering about things, I'll keep working. You put in the work that no one else is willing to do, because most people in the world are lazy. It is hard, and that is why you will achieve things that other people will never achieve.
Championships aren't won in the theater of the arena. They're won in the thousands of hours in the training room, the labs, and the 5 a.m. runs, and it's raining when everyone else is sleeping. That's when it's won.
We talking about doing stuff in the dark so that when it's showtime, when the lights come on, you have prepared and you're ready for that opportunity.
Let them laugh at you now. Let them talk now. Let them say whatever they want to say. You're overworking, you're working too hard, you're doing too much. They will see it as ridiculous, and you will see it as necessary. Because at the end of the year, at the end of the next decade, however long it takes for you to get where you want to go, you will be the last one laughing.
Download this video and audio by becoming a member at benlionelscott.com. Plus, get early access to all new content and hundreds of exclusive videos.
Vince Lombardi said, the harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. At the end of the day, the person that will surrender is the person that didn't work as hard as the other person. You got to work harder than the other person. So just when you felt like you did that last rep and your muscles are saying, I can't do no more reps, you say, yeah, you got to do one more. Because right now, you might be doing 5 more. While you quitting and giving up, while you saying, all right, I did enough, it's time to rest, he might just be getting in his zone. In order for you to go from one level to the next level, in order for any woman to transition, for any man to transition, the thing that they want must be greater than the thing they currently have. Humans do not transition to another level when they're comfortable with the level that they're on. Because you're thinking right now, like, I want a better home, I want a better car, I want a better family. No, that's what you say with your mouth. That's what you say to make yourself feel good about yourself. Because you don't get out of life what you want. You get out of life who you are.
Everybody likes the idea of success. Everybody wants to have millions of dollars in their bank account. But going out and doing those things, going out and building a plan backwards from that point that you want to be and going through the day-to-day actions of building that, you don't love that idea. You like the idea of success as long as it's easy, as long as it doesn't take dedication, as long as it doesn't take you having to do things that you don't feel like doing when you don't feel like doing them. You need to decide if you're in love with the idea of success or if you're in love with success.
You only transition from one level to the next when you're tired of the level you on.
You can stop at that level, or you can go, I want more levels. I want more fucking levels.
When you start losing, it becomes a habit. That's what's dangerous. And it doesn't just affect you. Now your children and your children's children are going to be broke. Winners win and losers lose. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. Life happens to everybody, but winners approach it like victors and losers like victims. Winners win, not because their circumstances change, not because they win the lottery, not because they get this network. Winners win because they change their mentality from being a loser, a victim, to being a victor and saying, I have what it takes. I've got the right mindset. I'm alive. I can count on me. So if you're tired of losing and you're ready to win, you owe you to be a winner. If you're going to be the best, the cream of the crop, if you're going to be the apex, you got to be it, not talk about it. You gotta be it. It has to consume you. It has to take over you. You're putting in work, and just because you can't see the results, you want to quit or give up. I ain't never quit. I ain't never give up. I ain't never give in. I just kept grinding. You putting in the work, and the only reason you pissed, the only reason you quitting is not because you want to quit, because you keep looking up and you saying we 3 in. Who cares what you are? If you keep going, you're gonna break through. The only people that don't break through are the people who scoreboard watching. You stopping working to look at yourself. You not grinding. You glaring. You should be grinding and you looking at the score. The score is what it is. The score ain't about to change because you looked at it. Keep playing the game. Keep grinding. Keep working. And that other stuff will take care of itself. And the process is not supposed to be comfortable. So if it hurts, if you feel like you're under heat, if you feel like you're being pressured, welcome to the big leagues.
You got to do a lot of shit that nobody ever sees or thanks you for or rewards you for a long time. It's delayed gratification. If you do the work consistently, 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. 2 + 2 is going to equal 4. And 10 years of motherfucking work is going to pay off.
The equation is always the same. Every single time, if you do it right, you're going to get the same answer. And most of y'all crying. I'm ready to quit because I put in some time. You might have put in some time, but you didn't put in the time. The time that's required to make your dreams become a reality. You can't shortcut success. Ain't no days off. You think because you sick, you can quit. You think because you hurt and you in pain, you can just give up. You think just because you put in some time, that ain't the time. You put in the time coach told you to put in. You put in the time the teacher told you to put in. But you didn't put in the time that life told you to put in. You didn't put in the time that the grind told you to put in. So what? You've been working out for 6 months. So what? You just started studying. So what? You serious. You just got serious 6 months ago. So what? You can't cheat the grind. You either put in the time or you surrender. If it was easy, y'all, everybody would do it. But it ain't easy. But I know you have what it takes to make it happen.
Download this video and audio by becoming a member at benlionelscott.com. Plus, get early access to all new content and hundreds of exclusive videos.
Several people live to be 100 years old and they have great lives. But somewhere in their life, they had a decision to make. They can go left or right on this path. Left was the easy route. Right was the hard route. A lot of people take the easy route, but the better life was going to the right side.
Because many of us are cuffed to convenience. Comfort and convenience is killing your calling. Your plan will not be convenient.
If you want to be ordinary, you ain't even got to listen to me. If you think ordinary's cool, just go on about your business. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way. All of you have extraordinary capabilities. All of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category.
You have to struggle. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the peace. The bigger the suffering, the more peace.
If dreams were easy, everybody would make them happen. The problem is that most people, they can't get up in the morning. They ain't got no energy. Most people that I'm with, they don't got the energy to keep up with me. I'm like, boo, ain't nothing wrong with you. You just ain't got the stamina. You just ain't got the energy. You can't smart everything. You can't outthink everything. Some stuff is just, you gotta be powerful. You just too slow. It just take you too long. You wake up, take you 3 weeks to do what it can take 24 hours to do. It don't make you a bad person, but you're gonna forever be average because to be great, you got to keep up. I'm shocked more people are on beast mode. There are people who living from check to check and they comfortable. It's the weirdest thing to me. I'm like, boo, you broke. Some of you broke and you still entertained. You ain't got no money and you sitting here complaining about, but then you watching all the TV programs. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why are you only giving 50%? What's wrong with you? You need to put yourself on punishment. You need to tell you no more TV, no more snacks, no more desserts. No, we working out now. I want you to ask yourself, why aren't you putting more effort forward? Why aren't you getting A's in math? You can. Why aren't you getting A's in English? You can.
You got to look at that man or that woman in the mirror and say, hey, get serious. You've been seriously not serious. You've been wasting valuable time. Get serious. Take control of yourself. You don't have the luxury of being reckless or procrastinating or putting things off. Come on, you got work to do.
Unless you number one in your industry, you shouldn't be chilling. And if you number one in your industry, you got enough common sense to know you better not be chilling. So I need that dog. Every time something good happens to me, I don't get satisfied. I get hungry. When I put forth 120% effort, can't nobody stop me. I didn't get here off being smart. I didn't get here being talented. I got here off that dog. I got that dog. I got that grind. And whatever I put my mind to, I can do.
Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. Start putting some pressure on. Put some pressure on yourself.
Most people want it easy. Easy come, easy go. See, but when you handle those hard things close at hand, making those hard decisions right now that you don't want to make, learning those things that you don't like to do. You do what it is you're supposed to. You're supposed to build something. You're supposed to create something. I don't know how to do it. Learn. Do whatever is required. You're going to have to fucking suffer, man. To grow, you must suffer. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. And I will succeed.
If you stay in bed, if you stay on the couch, if you stay in your comfort zone, if you only do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, if you get up, if you grind, if you are relentless, if you work as hard as possible, when other people are slacking off, your life will be easy.
If you're willing to take the harder way, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it.
Everybody's living off the hope factor. They hope the water was never cold. They hope the weather was good. I don't live off that hope. I wish the water was cold. I wish the fucking rain.
Whenever anything is challenging, whenever anything sucks, good. I like it. It's gonna give me a good story to tell, it's gonna toughen my mind, and it's gonna make us stronger.
It's your trial, it's your tribulation that's gonna get you out your comfort zone. It's your trial, it's your tribulation that's gonna take you to the next level.
When the enemy is unknown and the distance is unknown, that's when you know who the fuck you are.
When you're working out and you want to die, feel the pain happening in your legs as you rep out one more squat, because it'll be all the more pleasurable when you reach the other end where you're relaxing. Boy, I really went hard on that set. I really went hard in school. I really went hard in my career. I really went hard in life. I turn around in exhaustion, salute my former self that was right there. Proud of that motherfucker.
Alright, I'm done. Ooh. That motivation video came in clutch, my guy. I wouldn't be able to finish this workout without a little bit of motivation from that video. So it's good to be back, good to work out. And Sunday, finally, I was afraid that I won't be able to work out because it's already afternoon and I don't have much time to do because I still have to do a lot of things. But thankfully, I did it without a hitch. I'm just gonna take a bath right now. Thank you all for watching. I hope you stay consistent. Take care.